Hey guys, so I wanted to talk about some things about Substack, especially their new crowdfunding community round. So this is all really interesting to me, and it's been really fast moving since it was announced less than 24 hours ago. So let me share my screen and tell you what the heck I'm talking about. So let me just get to the right tab. All right, so Substack's crowdfunding community round. So I posted this 12 hours ago, and they've already hit the legal max in terms of crowdfunding, which is 5 million. This is hard to believe. Basically this signifies is that writers are supporting other writers by investing back into Substack. So Substack had some generous funding from A16Z, and lately, the venture capital scene has been a little bit tougher. So they've gone the community route, and it's actually really smart. If they can do 5 million of crowdfunding every year, that gives them kind of a runway, kind of a support from the entire community that they're actually backing. And what excited me about this report is the transparency of the company. I've been waiting for this for years. How many writers are there? How many paid subscribers, all those sorts of details that you'd expect. And now that they've done crowdfunding, we can expect more fiscal details from Substack, which helps us evaluate whether we as people want to invest perhaps our entire side income or main income on Substack as a writer. And so let me just dig into this a little bit. So my impression is that Twitter Blue is really failing. 40% of advertisers have basically left Twitter. Twitter isn't a free for all. Elon Musk thinks it's worth 20 billion. I don't think so. It's probably going to fail or be acquired in the next 6 months to a year and a half, in my estimation. TikTok also could get banned. So who's the beneficiary? Well, it's apps like Snap and Substack and LinkedIn and places like that, perhaps even Instagram and Meta's family of apps like WhatsApp and so forth. But I think Substack is a huge beneficiary if Twitter actually fails and if TikTok is actually blocked. It's actually banned in the US. So more TikTok creators are creating Substacks because they're realizing, whoa, I need to diversify what's going on. So Substack says it has actually 17,000 paid writers. Now, this is a lot less than some people would have imagined. For me, it's right on par, which I would have estimated. So it's still super early days. So if you are thinking of becoming a newsletter writer on Substack, you're still part of the first 1% who are ever going to join the platform. So it's still a really good idea to get a foot in the door, because the way the ecosystem works is as it attracts more readers, as it attracts a lot more attention, the early writers are going to benefit because of how the recommendation peer networks work. It just scales really well the longer you're on the platform. So it's really a simple arithmetic. And so Substack said it's starting a process that will let writers and readers invest in Substacks and own a piece of the company. So I think the writers pretty much maxed out the 5 million very quickly. I don't think there's even time for readers to get involved. That's just my impression. So the funding round was led by Bill Bishop, who was the first writer on Substack. He writes China news, and he's done brilliantly well. He gave 100,000 right at the beginning. I think in this round, he gave something like 25,000. Anyways, I wrote this as soon as I was aware of it, and they had already raised 784,000. That quickly went to 5 million, and I'm going to show you their WeFunder or whatever it's called crowdfunding page soon. I just wanted to quickly go through. So they basically talked to all their main writers, and they've all been boosting this. And it's kind of the network effect at scale, right? Writers really are supporting other writers here. Because, I mean, Substack's valuation, it's relatively low, right? It's still well under 600 million. So it should be lower because venture capital has had a reset. It should be way lower. But Substack thinks with its growth, it's okay. Fair enough, Substack. You evaluate yourself what you think you should be worth. We will try and trust you, and we do, in fact. And because this is the thing about Substack. They make the easiest way to build paid subscriptions at scale, and they're only taking, listen, 14 to 16% of the revenue, right? Because 10% goes to Substack and 3 to 6% goes to Stripe, depending upon your variety of yearly and monthly subscriptions. I actually saw the generalist only had yearly subscriptions when he recently came back to Substack, as a lot of people have been doing. So people are migrating from Medium and elsewhere, like Ghost and even Beehive. They're coming back to Substack because they realize that the paid subscriptions is just a lot more efficient at scale than advertising and these other gimmicks. And the recommendation engine is still working pretty well. So yeah, they consider they're worth 585 million. You know, so be it. That's a little bit high compared to the startup scene that's really difficult right now. Silicon Valley Bank failed. It's a completely different ecosystem for funding. And so Substack, this gives them a little bit more runway. If they can do this every year, that's almost enough to support some of their operations, some of their engineering and product budget, which is pretty extensive because they're hitting innovation really hard. They're able to iterate really quickly with their laser focused teams. So they're really just doing the product stuff and they're letting the ecosystem amplify itself through this community network and peer network thing. Seems to be working a lot better than Beehive, by the way, who are technically brilliant, but lack that cultural revolution sort of reputation that Substack has, you know, that Twitter following, all those political writers. So now we're seeing the other categories of Substack begin to fill out. My technology category has been really blossoming in 2023, and this is just, you know, not even halfway through the year. So the company's really interesting. They're framing it like they want to be an economic engine for culture, which sort of makes sense when you think of the variety of the writers that Substack is able to attract. So they gave some interesting data. 2 million paid subs, 35 million monthly active subscriptions, and 17,000 paid writers. So what this is telling me is in the first 2.5 years, Substack is growing in leaps and bounds, but it's still tiny. Think about it. This is tiny. They only have less than 20K paid writers. So this means that a lot of people just don't have the guts to start a paid newsletter and to keep doing it year in, year out and see what scaling a newsletter actually means. So those of us who've started, who are on the way, see that it's working. I'm one of them. I'm probably a pioneer in my own right in the technology category. And I write about AI and emerging tech and all sorts of things. This is my creator economy newsletter, which basically has pretty much nobody following it. Anyways, that's not important. I'm just happy to see Substack is finding some synergy with its community and a way to raise funds that's kind of more like crowdfunding, which is really kind of what Substack is all about, right? If I'm investing in Substack, I'm investing in all these 17,000 writers. And there's a lot more who are free, who haven't even turned on paid subscriptions yet. It's a pity for them, but it is what it is, right? The internet is transitioning from free media to paywalled media, and storytelling and writing and media is no different from all those trends. So cumulative money paid to writers, it's really going up pretty well. I mean, look at this scalability. You might even say that it's really mid 2021 when things really started to take off for Substack, right? The pandemic was actually good for Substack's growth. And because of how it scales, you can imagine that this will be quite high in 3 to 5 years' time, right? It's almost inevitable that better writers are going to join, more writers are going to join. A natural selection is going to take place among different fields. Even what we charge is going to find a greater mean point, right? Because currently, some categories like investing and technology, they can charge a lot more than those culture writers. And those culture writers really matter because they're sharing about society and what's going on in the real world. I mean, I'm just talking about emerging tech in the future. Like, what do I know of, politics and the cultural revolution? That really is the kind of media that we're lacking. The mainstream media is really not doing it for us. So Substack provides a lot of alternative exposure to different kind of niche content. Anyways, so Bill Bishop is a really interesting case study. My creator economy newsletter is called Basic Income World.substack. Anyways, let's go to their page. So they've already hit the 5 million. Honestly, this is less than 24 hours. This is probably like 12 to 16 hours. And I've seen a lot of Substack writers write about this event, mention that they're funding Substack, and it's like that network effect. Maybe the marketing guy that was the advisor to Substack knows what he's doing. I was a little bit skeptical at a certain point when I first joined, and I wasn't seeing much growth. But really, everything's changed, and it's changed my mind. I'm no longer a skeptic about this platform. And look, I'm testing, Beehive and LinkedIn and all these other newsletter platforms. I'm testing the advertising platforms, which connect you to sponsored ads like Paved, and so many others are approaching me. Sponsored ads is definitely a side income within this paid subscriptions gig, right? You kind of need to do both if you want to min-max your monetization strategies. Anyways, they do a wonderful job here on their WeFunder. WeFunder takes outrageous fees. They're also going to be taxed on this. I mean, it's nothing like free money really, right? And people are throwing maybe, 100 to 1,000, let's say, is the average. But look at this, 5 million, but only 4,200 investors. That's really interesting. That means some of our Substack writers are actually pretty wealthy people. Think of all those influencers and those big writers. Maybe they're even giving some of their Substack income back into the platform, right? This is how grateful we are for such an experience, for such a platform. It's kind of like the reincarnation of Medium, guys, because listen, their pitch is almost the same as Medium was all those years ago. So Substack is really the evolution of independent media on the internet in the 2020s. And Beehive is really innovating very well. I'm very pleased to see how Beehive is competing with Substack in terms of product innovation, right? Because product innovation is really the deal breaker, right? How things pop up, how things convert, the segmentation, the analytics. Beehive is definitely more of a pay to play, whereas Substack is kind of like free. You just do it and they just take a cut, right? So I don't know. They're both really good. And Substack, I mean, I love the communal element. And it's small. It's not as if they haven't had the marketing budget to really push their app or push their ecosystem or anything. They've just sort of hoped that organic growth would work, and it has. And it's been really slow at the same time, right? Like you want to cheer them on, and then you want to say, oh my God, you guys are just beginning still, which is the incentive for new writers like maybe you guys out there who are thinking of joining a Substack, making a Substack. You can create so many community features, and I want to touch base on those community features. So I wrote a piece about these community features. And what stood out to me was Substack wrote a post about how their chat feature is now also on the web. So before it was only in the app, and I don't like to text all day, right? I'm not going to be doing that. I'm a bit of an older person in how I consume media and create media. So I wanted it to be desktop. Now that it's desktop, I'm definitely going to start to do this because there's a 90% bump to annual revenue of creators that use this Substack chat really well. So basically what it enables you to do is create dialogues in between all your newsletters with your newsletter audience. And they can even create newsletters, so you can set, only paid subscribers will be able to create these chats. And I love it. I can share links or whatever I love to share, right? Like I've created an entire Reddit just for the links in my emerging tech interests. And it hasn't grown very well, but oh my God, do I love it. It enables me to research in a more concrete way and tag and make these flares on Reddit, which can really makes it a lot easier to find what you're looking for. Anyways, so I was thinking about what does community really mean in the newsletter, right? Anyone can write a newsletter, but how do you get that engagement that actually converts into paid subscribers? I'm just learning how to do this. I'm really bad at conversion. I'm the first to admit. And technology is just such a hard category, right? Because it's not like people are going to be sharing their political opinions or sharing their their family experiences or all these other really intimate, more confessional kinds of Substacks, which are great. So signs of community in your newsletter, people are actually commenting. People are actually sharing your work on Twitter or LinkedIn or wherever. People are they're responding to your dialogue threads, right? So you're trying to create immersion, you're trying to create more of a sense of community, a sense of dialogue. And this, if you see these signs, that's when you know, oh, a Substack chat really makes sense because it will augment your community and immersion. Maybe you're creating a podcast where you're interviewing people, making it more social, making it more of an emotional experience, right? You don't just want to be sharing information or education. You want to be sharing belonging and entertainment and all those soft things that we're lacking in today's technology world. We're being bombarded by all this information, but so what, right? I want a community of like-minded people, whether it's investors or technology enthusiasts or whatever your niche may be. You can tap into that drive of seeking people like each other, seeking community, seeking a safe place to share opinions and so forth. I haven't been able to do it on Substack, but the tools are really there. And this Substack chat really impresses me. If if I can add 90% to my revenue, that's a deal breaker. I'm gonna try hard to do that. I've said to my audience, once I reach 15,000 free readers, I'm gonna start that. I'm gonna do that. That's really soon, guys, for my flagship newsletter, which is AI Supremacy. Anyways, so yeah, you want to create that immersion where people feel you're not just spamming them information, right? I'm a high frequency poster, and I'm telling you, I have a lot of churn. So my feeling is if I'm able to embed community more into my newsletter, I'll be able to create a better connection with my audience, have them stick around for a bit longer, have the customer lifetime value a little bit higher. And so this is also just for a better reader experience, right? As a reader, you want to see signs of life. You don't just want to feel like, oh my God, this guy is just, writing about his niche like crazy. And like, so what, right? I've read like a few dozen of his pieces and they're good, but I sort of lose interest. And sure, I mean, listen, we have so much competition in our email boxes, right? We have maybe dozens of other newsletters. We have 100 plus work emails, and we have a lot of personal emails as well. I mean, I don't expect people to stick around, but I expect them to enjoy the experience while they're with me, right? And so I realize I really need to improve. I can be, loving my topic and niche, but that's not enough. I want to create a place where people actually feel something communal. And so I'm thinking about this. Oh, do I create a podcast? Oh, how do I tap into my audience to understand what they want me to write, right? To be more reader centric, be more customer centric. These are the people that will sponsor me. I need to know how they want my newsletter to evolve and not just do whatever I feel like, right? Like that's fine when you're just beginning, you're just growing, but you want to optimize the product market fit. And as a newsletter creator, that means creating a more holistic experience for your readers at every stage of the journey, right? So I'm just learning how to do that. I'm thinking about that. Some creators now, they're creating seminars, which are like Zoom calls for their paid subscribers, where they might be interviewing someone in their niche and they'll send it to their paid subscribers as an unlisted YouTube. It could be an onboarding into courses, workshops. I mean, think about it, video rants. I'm seeing a lot of bigger influencers and writers doing these video rants, which I think is kind of wholesome. I mean, I'm not going to stick around and listen to them that long, but definitely it's nice to feel like, okay, this is who they are. This is how they're framing their niche. I love it. I mean, I love the option of being able to listen to them, right? If you're really into podcasts, you might enjoy that. I personally don't. Because attention is such a game, right? You want to keep their attention. You want to provide enough value that they're going to stick around, but you don't want to bombard them or annoy them. And it's really difficult, right? Like I'm not a podcast person, but I'm not going to be doing Twitter lives or LinkedIn lives anytime soon, I don't think. Anyways, so there's YouTube Shorts, which is another option because if TikTok gets banned, You want to be on Snapchat and you want to be on YouTube Shorts because those are the obvious beneficiaries. I just don't think Instagram is what it used to be. I could be wrong. But if Twitter fails, basically Substack is going to get a huge boost. I don't think Mastodon is the future of Twitter. I think that's a little bit of a joke. I think Substack is much more, the descendant of like Medium and Twitter and all those, ecosystems that were like amazing once upon a time. Elon Musk is doing some weird things with Twitter. It's just not working. It's just not the experience that we've known for so long. Like it's changing too fast and not necessarily in a good way. I mean, my personal Twitter got banned. Like I don't even know why. I appealed. They didn't even answer me. I think it was their spam controller. I was retweeting too much of my newsletters brand account, which for some reason they didn't ban. Like they're supposed to ban your entire account, right? And it's like I did like a few paid ads with my newsletter account, like I don't know, maybe like $50 or something. And it is a verified account. I don't know, like why would they delete my personal one? I put so much energy into that. So screw you, Twitter. Like I'm not gonna do that again. I'm not gonna fall for that again. Like I want to at least have control over my experience, right? That's the whole entire reason I'm on Substack and no longer on Medium and kind of pissed off with the cringe of LinkedIn, to be honest. Anyways, I'm just ranting here, but very impressive to see Substack's 5 million community crowdfunding round. And yeah, Substack chat seems to be now really tested. And if they're saying it's a boost to revenue, I have to get on that. And maybe you do as well, right? Maybe you also have an instinct for community and belonging and how to create more engagement, more immersion. And it's all about retention, right? You want those first 6 weeks to be a good experience enough that some of your readers of those first 6 weeks are actually going to stay on and become paid subscribers, right? You want to create a business that's sustainable. And so you have to optimize every part of the funnel, every part of the reader experience. And I know that, like instinctively, I know that. It's just like, how do you do it? There's even some people, they'll create like a lead magnet on Gumroad, some free content, and then like the Substack is just a part of that. Some people still have blogs. Some people do really, really good LinkedIn posts that get like 500 likes, and that leads to a steady stream of subscribers on their Substack. So I've seen like a lot of variations of that, especially like in education. I'm writing about AI, so there's a lot of people that write books on AI and they educate their audience about AI, and they've grown really fast that way on LinkedIn. It's more for professional thought leadership. So I don't do too well. I'm not too educated in like a specific discipline. I'm just a psych major who transitioned to marketing and now is a freelance writer. And so maybe LinkedIn realizes I'm not an expert in anything, even though I love emerging tech and I consider my coverage kind of bleeding edge. There's nothing really like it out there. Anyways, polls. I think polls are really good. If you don't like to create the kind of repetitive community which involves a lot of maintenance, I find polls really stimulate comments. And I do them in my Substack newsletters. I do them on Twitter. I do them especially on LinkedIn. I get a lot of comments on my polls. This is probably the post type for me personally that performs the best. And if you are like me, you're probably wanting to reach that high income professional audience. And so LinkedIn, for all of its cringe and all of its annoying features, it's probably one of the best to get a click rate that's actually going to convert into a paid subscriber. So I get a lot of conversion from Google and LinkedIn because primarily I'm a technology writer, so that makes sense. But people that do Twitter really well, they get a lot of really valuable traffic, right? Because a tweet can go viral still, not in the same way as back in the day, but in the spammy way where there's a lot of clickbait now on Twitter. The quality has gone down. Anyways, I won't give it very long. I just don't think Elon Musk has managed it financially very well with all the layoffs and all the cuts. It's just not making enough revenue to scale, and the experience has deteriorated. And that's never a good sign for user retention. So User retention, optimization of community features. It's kind of what Substack is all about, right? They already have this Substack Boost, which is doing incredible at boosting paid conversions, right? Conversion optimization and churn reduction. So if you're a creator and you're not thinking about tapping into community features, you're really missing out. You're probably not doing too well in terms of paid conversion like me. Like the only thing that saves me is my post frequency. And I've talked to some Substack creators and I'm like, that's my thing. Like that's just my model, right? I don't charge too much and I write a lot. And that's not always going to work in this attention economy where people's attention spans are short and the competition is just going to get more fierce, right? So we know what's coming. So you want to reply to your comments, you want to see who is sharing your content, you want to start Substack chats, which I'm going to do. Dialogue threads is always a good option. Private email replies. I've had a lot of luck with this. So at many points in my reader's journey, I mentioned just hit reply and talk to me. And they give me such good advice, such good insights. I've found people to do guest posts that way. It's just incredible. So anyways, guys, this is just me ranting about their incredible community round and how community means collaboration. So there's Substack creators doing Twitter audio events. They're doing more guest posts. They're going on other people's podcasts. They're calling out people. They're cross-posting. They're doing all these things, and all this collaboration starts to scale. And community has many different types, many different approaches. And you just do what feels right for you, right? Maybe you don't like podcasting. Maybe you prefer live events. Maybe you actually like YouTube Shorts because it gives you an ability to get better at talking about your niche. You never know when that's going to be valuable, right? Maybe one day you're consulting and you're doing talks on your topic somewhere, right? You never know. You might build a YouTube one day. You might realize that that's the way to diversify and survive. Maybe you need a Substack and a YouTube and a bunch of other things as they manifest in the future. Who knows, with generative AI and Web3, maybe they'll have a baby and NFTs will be helping us survive as creators online. Yeah, so the creator economy is still really difficult because it doesn't have a middle class. So you sort of have to be in that top 10, 5% to actually make a decent living. And not all of us are good or lucky enough to be able to do that. Maybe we don't have the right niche that doesn't have a big enough total addressable market. Maybe we just haven't tapped into the niche that's actually has people everywhere. So Substack enables you to find, you have the most crazy niche, right? Maybe you talk about what you do in the mornings in your gardening. And yeah, there's someone that kind of did that. And wow, you know, she gets a lot of engagement, a lot of human contact, a lot of female audiences, I guess, that tap into these different topics, you know, parenting. It doesn't just have to be like political conspiracy theories. It can be really wholesome things, right? It can be really life empowering, you know. Maybe you're talking about your digital nomad experience or whatever crazy niche you feel. There's probably thousands to millions of people out there eventually who are experiencing, wondering about the same things that you are. So I like how Substack is building all these community features. It's a little bit encouraging that writers will actually give back to other writers through their platform. That they reach this 5 million point after 15 hours, let's say maybe even 12 hours, is a sign that Substack is gaining a certain reputation among writers. And, you know, so many of us have the dream of being a writer online. How do I do it? Well, I start a Substack. I start a Beehive. It's not rocket science, but you have to do it. You have to be committed to it. You have to love it. You have to put your heart into it. So if I put my heart into my Substack, I definitely have to get better at community, guys. It's so important. It's so important to be good to people and to offer them that extra hospitality, that extra insights, the extra bonuses that you're offering them, right? To be an exclusive member of your club, basically, right? You don't just want to offer them more content or better content. You want to offer them communal experiences. And it took me a while to learn that. I mean, listen, I'm an introverted male, right? Who's like razor focused on his topic. I'm not a people person. So how do I learn to adapt to this communal immersion aspect, right? I built all these newsletters. Only a couple of them have actually scaled. I've been doing it all wrong. My conversion optimization is horrible. So have to reset, pivot, restart, and think about people. Like, how would I feel if I became a new reader to my newsletter? Would I feel like sticking around? What would make the difference? So I don't know if Substack chat is a deal breaker, but if it's 19% boost in revenue, it certainly sounds like it. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna stop sharing now, but yeah, so these are more Substack tips that I gave you, and basically it's the rise of community. Yeah, wow, very impressive Substack. Pleasure to be with you guys. Hardly anyone's gonna see this, but I like to document my growth and my experiences. All right, catch you later.